Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragnix and a game design video for you today of Dying Light the Following. Now you guys voted for me to take a look at the following via the poll system that I've started. And I will put the link to the next week's poll in the description below so you guys can vote on that. And the next week after that, I will put up that poll around Friday or Saturday. But I've been wanting to do more game design videos, and starting off the following and understanding exactly what the heck is going on with it, it was a good opportunity because you took a game that had a base set of mechanics in Dying Light and you added a couple of new mechanics to it. The major problem here, though, is that those mechanics don't necessarily work with the original mechanics, and it's not the bigger mechanics, the things like the parkour that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the little details in terms of the implementation of those mechanics, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let me add some context before I go into the main mechanics here. Dying Light the Following is a continuation of the Dying Light game that came out early last year, which I did a review for TechRaptor, which you can find in the description below. And yes, I will actually put it in the description below because I will remember this time. I swear I'm going to remember. But regardless, what has happened is that the city of Harran has been overrun by the zombie outbreak, and people who have been bitten are able to be cured temporarily with something called Antacin, very similar to Zombrex from Dead Rising 3. Well, it's a little bit of a crisis there right now because guess what? They're running out. This gets us to the main elements of the following. What's happened is that there's this village that is apparently immune to the zombie outbreak. People have been bitten and they don't turn. It has to do with this, Children of the Sun and this sort of religious cult, but they don't have Antacin. So you need to figure out, okay, why are they not turning, and can we use that to sort of prevent us from turning at this point? Now, they don't trust outsiders, and thus you need to earn their trust by doing things for them. There are a lot of bandits out here, and they took over the water supply, so you're trying to get it back at this point. I am not helping this guy by trying to jump on his head, but we're cool. Well, of course, in video game fashion, things go awry as the pipes start to burst, and it starts one of the main story missions of the game. Basically, the idea will be is that I need to race along the pipeline to close the pipeline at the end so that the water doesn't just explode and leak into the ground, sort of dooming this village. Now, the following has one new major mechanic in order to do this, a driving portion of the game. As in the original game, you had a lot of parkour, you were in the middle of a city that didn't really have a lot of open areas. This time around, you have a lot of open areas, and you get a buggy very, very early on. Now, this fourth mission of the game makes a lot of sense in terms of the game's mission progression. About 2 missions before, you got the buggy and you were first introduced to it. You were first introduced to the driving mechanics, and while it wasn't under a timed event, you had a little bit of pressure on you because you had bandits around you. But it was a good introduction. I just didn't get a lot out of it because obviously I just drove right into that tree. Now, we're about 2 missions after that one, and you want to sort of ramp it up from a game design perspective. You want to put a little bit of pressure on the player in question in order to force them to become a little bit more skilled or understand that, yeah, it was a walk in the park in the first place, but we're going to put you in a situation where we're going to provide a little bit more of a challenge. Now, in the bottom left and bottom right portions of the screen, you'll see new status indicators, and these are related to the condition of your car. In the bottom left, those are the parts of your car, and you'll notice the red flashing indication here. That means that your car is becoming damaged, and in particular, the parts within it are becoming damaged. Things like the suspension when you're driving across a bumpy road. Now, over time, that means less performance if they get into like yellow conditions and red conditions, but I'm fine for right now. Now, in the bottom right, that's my gas, and you'll notice that it's not exactly doing pretty well. Now, at the start of the game, you start off with a half a tank, and of course, you'll have to put gas in the car in order to, drive it to new places. But they haven't really introduced that mechanic to you yet, and you'll notice that I'm already pretty low. Okay, that's a little bit of a problem, but I should be able to deal with it. You'll also notice that I was taking damage while I was driving because it's night and the demons are out, and thus they are damaging the car and damaging me significantly. They damaged the car enough that the turbo section of it became yellow, and thus it got damaged enough that it won't be as effective as it was before. Okay, fine, but I'm at the place in question. except for the fact that I wasn't able to figure out where the valve was in order for me to be able to complete this mission. I was like, okay, where is it? Is it here? Is it there? I don't know where it is. There's this hole here, but I don't have the equipment on me at this point in order to light it up. I'm like, okay, wait, I think I have flares or something, and so I'm trying to switch over. I'm not remembering the controls from the original game, and I'm like, okay, hit all the buttons. Okay, there we go. I got a flare. I can see what I'm doing a little bit now, but the time is running out, and I'm not exactly sure what I need to do, so I'm going to actually fail this part, which is okay, right? Okay, I'll just try again. And here's where the problem starts. See, there's one mechanic that I failed to mention early on that really causes a problem here in terms of trying to get through this mission. Now, again, it's a timed mission. I gotta make it out to the buggy and get to the end of the pipeline. You'll notice it's a little bit darker now. And you'll notice the buggy is in a new position. Okay, fine, that's not necessarily a bad problem, right? Uh-oh. Do you see what I'm talking about? I'm not sure if you see what I'm talking about. Take a look at the bottom left. You notice anything different than what you would expect? The damage that my car took in the first attempt has now transferred over into the second attempt. And here's where the bigger problem lies. As your car takes damage, its performance goes down. For example, your suspension, as it becomes damaged, it becomes a lot harder to control the car. If your engine becomes damaged, you go a lot slower. And considering the fact that the demons at night in this game can run pretty darn fast, this could be a killer combination. Now, okay, there's a repair system in the game, so I should be able to repair it, right? Well, that's where the problem with the timed element of the game comes in. See, in order to repair your car, you go around to other cars and take the parts you need and repair them. So you take screws out of other cars or gas out of other cars in order to repair it. The thing is, with the timed element, I may not have time to do that. And now that I've failed again, that means the car is in even a worse condition than it was before. So now it's starting the snowball. It's getting harder and harder, and even though I may be becoming a little bit more skilled at this point, the fact is that I may not be able to make progress with the car in question. Now you're probably saying to yourself, oh, that's just a bug. That probably is something that shouldn't happen. But the thing is that this design actually existed in the original game. Now you're probably saying to yourself, wait a minute, there were no cars in the original game. But that's not what I'm talking about. See, in terms of the fighting and your equipment, for example, if you used the health pack and died, that health pack went away. It never came magically back. And your weapon's condition had the same problem. Now, in that portion of the game, that seems like the same problem, but it was less of a problem because you could find new equipment rather easily, and in particular, you could craft health packs, and they didn't necessarily have the timed element on top of it. In some cases, the design here is actually beneficial the way that it works. For example, when taking on a base with enemies in it, if I were to kill one of the enemies in question and I then were to die, I would respawn and that enemy would still be dead. So it could be a piecemeal progression in that case, making it easier for players who want to go through it over and over again, although some players may be annoyed that the challenge wouldn't necessarily be there on the next attempt. And now you may see my problem here. A small mechanic from the original game, something that you may not have noticed at first, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, now has a huge impact on the implementation of the new mechanics. Those mechanics now combined together makes this sort of mega problem, a problem that you may not be able to recover from. The fact is that your car can become so damaged that you can't drive it. And because of the timed element, I won't be able to recover. Now, okay, fine. Let me go back to a save state that was a little bit before this that I can, remake the progress at. Well, that doesn't necessarily exist either. See, there's no traditional load or save states in this game. What you can do, though, is go back to a checkpoint in the quest system. You can go back to an original story checkpoint, which, okay, you can go back a couple of quests, and it sort of sucks that you have to lose that progress. But at least you can do something, right? Well, you can do something, of course, but you also have a little bit more effort in order to do it. Well, what do I mean? Remember, again, the car keeps its status. And even if you go back to an original checkpoint, the car's still in this condition at this point, to the point where, okay, hold on a second, now I need to recover the gas, I need to recover the equipment in question. Now, I didn't actually try this, but the fact is that there is a mission that you try to get the car out of the sort of bandits location at this point. I do wonder whether or not that car would even be drivable at that point. It may not be. And this is the problem here. This QA, this testing, didn't necessarily happen with an older mechanic. You think, okay, no, the game's fine. It's just additional content. We've, hammered out the bugs, and we've just added a couple of new mechanics. We can work it out in terms of testing that in particular. But no, you got to test it in combination with everything else. And this combination is deadly. Alright, this is the end of the game design video. I will still be doing a first impressions on the following. It will not be a full review. I still want to cover it critically, as you guys asked me to do. However, I do want to, focus on a little bit more indie games. That is sort of my jam on this channel, so I do want to get back to that a little bit. Even though the sort of Lunar New Year portion of the Steam sales has changed that a bit, because some games that were planning on coming out this week have been pushed back because they don't necessarily have the front page coverage for when they were to be a popular new release, thanks to all the Steam sales. Alright, I will see you all later. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button in the middle of the screen. The last video I did will be in the top left, and a related video to this will be in the top right. I do have a Twitter handle at the bottom left, and a Facebook page at the bottom right. And of course, you can always subscribe to the Google Plus portion. Anyway, thanks for watching, and keep on gaming.